popcorn, grab a Coke, and find that old VHS. We're diving deep in cheesy flicks. Yeah, we're on a vintage quest. Low reviews but high on laughs. Let's give these films a cheer. The cult classics, flops, and nuts. There are topics this year. We're the Ejectables, rolling back the years, celebrating movies that no one else cheers. From backhand twos to epic fails, we say it's all good. We're the Ejectables, yeah, we're misunderstood.
Welcome back to the Ejectables. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks,
Anytime.
Christian, for joining us.
I
Thanks,
know.
Christian.
Yeah, for those of you who are new here, the Ejectables, Bill, Ian, and Joe review movies that have been overlooked or otherwise panned. And tonight, our guest is Christian Bladt, who is quite accomplished. He spent 12 years at the helm of his podcast, the Bladtcast, and also hosts Who Are These Broadcasters, and provides countless hours of content every month for the Geekscape network. Welcome, Christian. Thanks so much for being here tonight.
Hello, gentlemen. You're about 10 seconds away from the most embarrassing moment of your life.
That's a great line in that flick. So yeah, Christian, start us off. What did you like about the Adventures of Ford Fairlane?
Well, when I saw it in 1990, I would say everything. And I've rewatched it a few times in the years since. And there's maybe, slightly less like as time goes on, but it's still pretty amazing, forgotten film for sure. It's forgotten because it's not streaming anywhere. I don't know about outside of the U.S., but I have my my trusty standard def DVD, and as Bill found when we recently had lunch, I also have the soundtrack on cassette.
What?
Which happened to be in my car on that day because my car's a 98 and it does indeed play cassettes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's, and it, think what you will about the video for Cradle of Love, the usage of Cradle of Love in the Ford Fairlane. I was 14 when I saw this. It couldn't have been more amazing for me. I'll always have a soft spot for that song. And I think it's sort of this weird era where you were about to stop getting R-rated comedies entirely, but this is like an action adventure comedy. And, Rennie Harlan might not have been the person to take us on this journey. I think that there could be some directorial shortcomings, but it's an amazing cast. With Lauren Holly as his assistant Jazz, and of course the great Wayne Newton, and all the way down to some smaller parts. She's not billed as this, but the all-girl band, Pamela Adlon, is one of the girls in the girl band, apparently before she tried to lose her New York accent, like even tried a little. So, it's a tour de force by Robert Englund. So I have always enjoyed this movie. I watched it again this afternoon just to make sure that was still true. And I would say it certainly holds up just as well as the cassette does from 1990.
You have the soundtrack cassette?
Yeah, and
that's what I was saying. And I played it for Bill in the car because the car that I have is a 98. So it has okay, let me flex a little bit. It has a 5 CD changer and a cassette deck.
That's awesome.
That's impressive.
Yeah, well,
I wonder. So I haven't heard a cassette in ages. Is there any distinction between like a stream on Spotify or?
Oh, I thought you were going to say on a vinyl or a CD. I would say cassettes probably sound better than streams on Spotify because they're so compressed. Now, if you were going to upload a huge WAV file of a song, that would sound better. But cassettes were definitely a nice stepping stone from the LP to the CD. But it's not the best format, as evidenced by the fact that your tape could become unraveled. We all had pencils around to make sure we could wind it back up if it ever got too
God
loose.
forbid. Now, is that from the 90s? That actual cassette? Did you keep it from?
Yeah, no, as long as there's a visual component, It has a
Oh,
chunk
yeah.
taken out of it because it's from the discount bin. So yeah,
Yes.
I might have bought this in late 1990, but I
Well,
did buy it in 1990.
You're so good with your possessions. I don't think I have any cassette.
Oh, I have tons of cassettes. I have VHS of things that never quite made it to even DVD. So there's it's a bit of a hoarder. I won't lie, but I've been very glad to hang on to some of the things I did. And when people downsized their DVD and Blu-ray collection, only to find that films that are uploaded to streaming get re-edited and moved around and all sorts of things. So I will be a defender of physical media till the day I die.
I'm regretting it. I got rid of my 500 VHS tapes and Blu-rays and DVDs, and I've just started getting some, old new ones. But
Sure.
there's a lot of stuff you can't find in streaming. It's sad.
Such as The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Yes.
1990, director Rennie Harlan.
Mm-hmm. It's good. I saw this movie at the theater when it came out. I guess I was 17 when it came out. And I loved
it. Was May 1990. So however old you were then.
Wow.
It was summer of 1990 it came out, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
17. And I loved it. I think because it's borderline inappropriate, but it's absurd and sweet at the same time. He laughs at himself. It's got everything. And it feels like a Tony Scott action movie, but with this kind of goofy humor. And I don't know. I loved it. I love this one line in the movie. I got to say it. He says to his, spoiler alert, the kid that will become his child at the end of the film, he says, "See those two girls? Girl Scouts. I took 2 boxes." It's so, there's a joke a minute in this. Obviously inappropriate, you would say, for these times we're in, but I laughed at it a lot watching it today. I think it holds up in its dated way.
There's no shortage of one-liners like that. Ford, we just wanted to be held. You got the bonus plan.
You got the bonus plan.
When another girl was leaving, is do my dishes.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it is definitely a different time, different place. But not in a way that makes you too uncomfortable. I guess there's one joke about having a decorator that was a homosexual that particularly aged poorly, that I think if this ever found its way to streaming, you might suddenly realize I think there used to be a joke there. I don't remember what it was, but I would say if there's any that would really be the thing to take out.
I agree.
Is that 3 seconds?
Yeah, it's a blast. You got to seek it out. You guys saw it, right, Bill?
Yes.
Bill found it for me on the what was it, the Wayback Machine,
the Internet Movie Archive.
Yeah, we had to search high and low for it, but
I bought the DVD. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Howard Stern auditioned to play the Gilbert Gottfried role, and he has a bit about how much of a jerk Rennie Harlan was. They almost scraped the movie 2 weeks before they started shooting because Joel Silver thought that Andrew Dice Clay was too fat. I think this is one of the greatest movies of all time. I think it's beautifully shot, so hilarious. I mean, that scene at the end where Robert Englund is masterfully written. Oh my god, everything works out great. To me, it's a perfect movie. I cannot top 100 for Bill easily.
I would agree.
What?
No, I would agree. I know you know me, and I'm not a huge comedy lover, but this one, I think because of the absurdities in it, the koala bear, I mean, just the goofy lines, it is so fun and off the wall, yet kind of comfortable in a traditional action 80s vibe way that it has. But I totally dig it. I can't wait to show my son, and with the perspective of our modern times, he'll understand. But
well, my son's 9, so he's not going to see it anytime soon.
Mine's 18, so
yeah. Well, yeah. I think that's fine. Yeah. It's what age were you when you saw it? That age is probably fine. Yeah. So, and let's of course not overlook how great Ed O'Neill is in it as the the adversarial police detective. Yeah. It's and I mean, this was a few years into Married with Children, but I think for a lot of people, this might have been the first time they saw him do something else. I don't think everybody saw his Popeye Doyle thing that he did. So I think seeing him in this was it was fun because basically everybody except Ford is some degree of an asshole. So it just, and he's sort of on the high end. Morris Day as the record producer. No shortage. I mean, Tone Loc's just there to rap, but there's a lot of things that take you back. There's Milli Vanilli paid us in bicycle shorts and hair extensions. What is this? What is this? The Rob Lowe channel? So it's like you have a lot of jokes that like 6 months earlier probably weren't in the script. A lot of them feel like ADR that were added closer to release.
Yeah.
Like,
If I wasn't banned from MTV,
long story. Yeah, exactly.
The trailer, I saw it in the Village with right before Nuns on the Run, and they
another great film, which I also saw in the theater.
And you can't find it anywhere. It's awful. It's so crazy. And it's like Andrew Dice Clay, Morris Day, Tone Loc, and it's like and Wayne Newton, and it goes, that's right, Wayne Newton. Everyone in the theater started laughing, and this was the Village at the time.
Yeah,
it was such a great trailer. Yeah, Barry Diller took it out of the theater after the second week. He hated Andrew Dice Clay. I think in 1 year, Rennie Harlan had The Adventures of Ford Fairlane and Die Hard 2. So quite a diverse directing slate.
I even in that age, I liked this movie so much more than Die Hard 2. I know we're not here to talk about Die Hard 2, but back when there were only 3 Die Hard movies, it was easy to say that far and away Die Hard 2 is my least favorite, because it's like, hey, remember the first one? Yeah, we're gonna go stick it in an airport, and those characters from the other one. Yeah, it doesn't need to make sense. We're just gonna use them again.
And it's crazy violent because I think he did Nightmare on Elm Street before, and so it was nuts. It was like, I think John Amos like cut someone's throat with a knife. It's nuts.
I believe you're right, actually. Yeah. Yes.
Mr. McDowell. Joe, what'd you think of Ford Fairlane?
I liked it, and even though there's a lot of like slapstick and a lot of laughs, I also like that it has a certain amount of heart because he's nostalgic for the music of yesteryear, and I thought that was relatable. And I think my favorite scene was Gilbert Gottfried getting electrocuted. I kind of wish that was Howard Stern. That would have made it even better.
He was a good actor, Gilbert. He was like, when he was serious, he could have done more dramatic stuff. I know he hates the movie, and if you Google Gilbert Dice Godfrey on YouTube, you will be laughing for the next week because he makes fun of him pretty badly.
Gilbert Dice Gottfried and Dracula Gottfried are two things that everyone should Google, but probably not safe for work.
Definitely not safe for work. Yeah.
I love it when Andrew Dice Clay goes up to see what's happening with Gilbert Gottfried, and he arrives into his office, and he opens up the door, and a body just swings down like from a horror movie, just randomly. This absurd goofiness.
And Priscilla Presley, what is she doing in this movie? It's like,
And he says,
was that before Naked Gun or after?
That was after the Naked. Is after the
yeah.
Naked
This would be after the first Naked Gun, so probably between 1 and 2. Yeah.
Okay.
And every time like I would see these LA movies, I'd be like, I'm gonna live on the beach, and I was lucky if I could live in Van Nuys,
Yeah. They seem to make it seem like it's very easy to get from what is clearly Malibu to his offices in Hollywood.
The Crossworld, and then the DJA building.
Yeah, I noticed that. I like it when he arrives at the sorority house. He's like, "Oh, maybe I did die in the explosion."
I like when he's falling off the Capitol Records building. It's my hair.
Oh yeah, I know.
One of those weird voiceover things that it's so weird.
And talking about the sorority girls, Melody, the main one, of course, Kari Werher, who was, amongst other things, the replacement lady on Remote Control. If this was 1990, I would have called her a girl, but I guess she's a woman. So, so there's no shortage of recognizable faces, even if the name Kari Werher doesn't roll off.
Everyone knows her. I used to see her at the Snake Pit on Melrose. Yeah.
Nice. That's a humble brag.
There you go. Booyah.
I saw the Lulu Petals at an audition once in New York. I'm like, oh my God, that's Lulu Petals.
Zuzu Pedal.
Zuzu, sorry, I knew her name.
Yeah.
Wrong. I didn't say anything to her. I'm like, because that's a movie I knew her from. But
Yes,
yeah.
and it's based. The name came from "It's a Wonderful Life."
Yes.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah.
should have not screwed that name up.
Art movie.
And I saw this movie years before I saw Chinatown, like at least a decade. So when I finally see Chinatown, it's like, she's my sister, she's my daughter, she's my daughter and my sister. It's not a funny moment, but I had to laugh because it reminded me of this. So
Awesome pick, Christian.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah.
that's great.
Great flick.
yeah, I it's one of those ones that you want to tell people to go and see, but it's not easy. You really have to want to see this movie, and you have to seek it out. And
But it is findable, unlike The Underneath, which I did a couple of weeks ago. So you can find it.
yeah, I think a Blu-ray was actually produced with. It might have actually been as recently as Disney purchasing Fox, because I go with the old tried and true standard def DVD. I don't need the Blu-ray, but
It fits this movie better. The
Yeah.
standard def. Yeah.
well, there's movies where I'm glad that I still have them on VHS, you know. But this one I think is deserving of disc format.
I agree.
How much would a VCR go for nowadays?
You get them pretty cheap on eBay.
Really?
If
Yeah.
you want a used one, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely a lot of kitsch factor to having one, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well, especially if you have VHS, because I think we all
Yeah.
have at least.
Yeah, my
few.
son had us get one. And off of eBay, we got it pretty cheap, like $50 maybe.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, I
It
was
worked.
expecting to be very expensive at this
Yeah.
point. Cool.
Be sure it was tested.
Exactly. You got to make sure it's tested. So, Ian, you also did a movie from 1990.
Just as hilarious as Ford
Oh, yeah.
Fairlane. I did the movie Avalon, directed and written by Barry Levinson, who also did Rain Man. This is the third in his Baltimore trilogy, first being Diner, then Tin Men, and then this. And then he had another one after this, but that would
Liberty Heights. Liberty Heights.
Liberty Heights. I think this movie, I chose it obviously because it's Thanksgiving week coming up. And this movie takes place between Thanksgiving 1948 and Thanksgiving 1950. And it's about this Polish Jewish family and how they are becoming more American throughout the 20th century. And I was thinking, how am I going to explain this movie? It really is just about a family and the family dynamics of those who came from the old country and those who grew up in the States. And it's just seeing how family identity, how that has morphed and changed over time. And it's just a beautiful film. The period detail is amazing. The performances, who's in this? It's Aidan Quinn, Elizabeth Perkins, who I didn't even realize until I just rewatched it, how amazing she is in this. Armin Mueller-Stahl sitting right there. He is amazing as the grandfather. Elijah Wood as a young boy, and I think that's why Bill chose his movie. And Kevin Pollak. It is just such a great film. Awesome Randy Newman score. Great cinematography by Alan DeVoe, who also did Empire of the Sun, one of my favorite movies. I loved it. You guys?
I thought it was great. I thought it was interesting how it's like their memories become the viewer's memories. And I think the turkey scene when he cuts the turkey before he arrives, I feel like that was that definitely is I think, what is the word when it's like universal, like the feelings that were attached to that whole scene were universal. I thought it was really well done, and I love Aidan Quinn.
Yeah, the family dynamics are so. I just want to touch on one other thing. I love how they talk about the horrors of the Holocaust when her brother comes over from Poland not long after the war, and you see what they've been through in the Holocaust without them saying it. You see them speaking in Polish. We see reaction to what they're saying, and we see their daughter who just looks devastated from what she's been through, obviously. And it's just so powerful how that, there's a lot of humor in this film, but there's these very moving moments. So it's another reason why I love it.
I guess so. Alan, how do you pronounce it? Alan
DeVoe. I don't know if he's French or was French. He's dead, but
so he shot E.T. and I guess he was very meticulous director of photography, and that he took on one Kevin Pollak's podcast. He said that he would take 2 hours to light a football. And Barry Levinson was so intimidated by him that he just, because I also shot, I think maybe he shot Bugsy as well. Yeah. And so that's why it looks so good. I mean,
Oh, it's amazing to look at.
they definitely don't make movies like this anymore. I think he was coming off a really big hit in order to do it. Bugsy wasn't a big hit.
This would have been 2 years after Empire of the Sun, but that was not a huge hit either.
No, yeah. But yeah, it's like 2.5 hours. I mean, it's crazy that TriStar let him make this movie. It's nuts.
It would never be made now. You could and I think that's why I'm talking about this movie, because people didn't really see it then. It was a pretty big budget film. Didn't make its budget back, but yeah. Did you see it, Christian?
I did not. I did not realize we were going to speak about this film, and I've never seen it. So,
but you gotta check it out.
You must.
No,
see
I
it.
would love to. Yeah, no. It's it's not like I'm unaware of this film. It's just sort of, movies get pushed down on your list of it's like, oh yeah, I got to see that one day. But yeah, it sounds great.
And I think also because you're like, oh, it's about a family. Not saying this is your opinion, but I think a lot of people didn't see it because it's like, oh, it's a family drama, not really about anything, but it's about a family. So see it.
Yeah. Definitely. But my favorite Barry Levinson Baltimore movie is Tin Man, and that's hard to find as well.
That's crazy. That's hard to find. So
I know, it's Dan DeVito and Richard Dreyfuss. Yeah. Diner's hard to find. Yeah. I mean, Joe and I saw Diner at a special 30 anniversary with Mark Johnson. But it was not even full. Wow. I mean, time goes by like that. Yeah. So, Joe, what was your pick?
So I did the Legend of Billie Jean, and I just thought this was great. I mean, mostly because of Helen Slater. I mean, I think she was just great in this, especially when she had longer hair in the beginning of it. I think my favorite part, what is it? She says, "Fair is fair. We didn't start this. We didn't mean for it to happen, but we're not going to give up until you pay. Fair is fair."
That's the original title, by the way.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's a great flick. Well, she's just, I think everything I liked about it really starts with her, because I feel like she had such presence and was just so beautiful. I felt like I was in awe of her most of the flick. Like everything that she did, it was just right. And you really just got behind this very like pure character who is strong and protective. And I just thought it was a great film. I mean, especially get Pat Benatar in the soundtrack.
That's true.
So what she says when she sings it goes, "This is a song from one of the worst movies ever made."
Aww.
She says that at the concert.
Well, that's not very nice, Pat Benatar.
It's not very nice.
Not very nice. She paid you.
My favorite part of the movie is Christian Slater looking lovingly. He plays her sister, and you could tell he's in love with her. It's really
but they both have the same name. Isn't that cool? That they played brother and sister.
Yeah.
So, Bill, you were picking up that you thought that he had I mean, who couldn't have the hots for her in this film? I mean, she was absolutely delicious.
It's not this film, but who can't fall in love with Supergirl?
I know.
So obviously, Christian Slater was just feeling what we all would have felt.
I think more people saw this than Supergirl.
And Supergirl, yeah,
I saw Supergirl in the theater. It was awesome.
Now, Joe, I gotta say, I did not see this movie back in its day. I remember the trailer came out and like, oh, that looks like a cool like action thriller. Mm-hmm. And then I saw parts when it came to HBO or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is not what the trailer promised. So I never fully watched it until you chose it. And I got to say, I really enjoyed it. Oh, cool. I really enjoyed it. Now, if we didn't have other films on this episode, I would have probably chosen this as my favorite at the end of the episode. Oh, wow. Probably not going to happen now, but I really dig it. I think it's got a lot of great 80s stuff. It's got sweetness. Those performances, though, are what make the film. Mm-hmm. Like Helen Slater and Christian Slater are great. And it's from the director of Dragon Slayer. So
Matthew Robbins wrote Sugarland Express. Him and his partner went to USC with George Lucas, and the director Matthew Robbins rewrote E.T. for Spielberg. He didn't get credit. Wow. So he did a pass of it. Yeah, you can read about it in the book Easy Riders, Raging Bulls. Yeah,
I think there's borderline though a great movie here, and it just needed a little bit more to become that. I think it plays a little too middle of the road, so I think it misses the mark. but I think there's a lot of good stuff going on here, and it is worth a watch. And it is a lot like Sugarland Express. It's crazy.
What would you have changed, Ian, if you
I
thought it
think I
could go to
would've-
that next level?
Made it a little edgier. Maybe made them actually kill the guy that gets shot near the beginning. And I didn't really see, why does she have such a following? I could see it in Sugarland Express, but I didn't really get it in this film. I'm like, what did she really do other than say fair is fair? I don't know.
Well,
Sometimes that's all you need is just one catchphrase.
Yeah, is that what I don't know.
It's Helen Slater, Ian.
No, I agree. She excellent performer and she looked amazing, but I don't really understand within the logic of the film, like, why are people
It's all injustices, so it makes it universal because, especially if you're young, and there's the poverty, not that like the other family was like rich, but they were more well off than her.
Sure.
And it was just about making things right and saying, even though we're kids, even though we don't have as much money as you, we're not letting you get away with this.
But did everyone know that she was almost raped by this guy?
I think that she tells him at the end. At the end when they're before the fire starts. Sorry for the spoilers. She winds up telling everyone what happened, and he's like, "Shut up, shut up." So I mean that they did such a good job in making us really want him to pay, and I think it would have been better if there was. I mean, the kick. How many times are you going to kick him in the balls? I mean, I don't think that. I think that it would have been so much nicer. I think it was PG-13, so they probably couldn't do much more. But it would have been nicer if they did something more. Not like burning bed or anything, but a little bit more would have been preferable.
It's also like a Joan of Arc parallel.
Yeah.
I just never saw a movie where a scooter was the driving force of a movie. It's like
what's fair is fair, Bill.
Christian's favorite Helen Slater is Secret of My Success. That's what
now that movie I saw, and so I did see this. You're sort of what Ian's talking about. I saw it on on HBO, but it was more one of those movies that like I definitely saw, but I didn't watch it straight through. I was probably waiting for like, I don't know, just one of the guys to come on or something, and I was like, all right, I don't know what this is, but I have my 36 channels and this is one of them. But it's definitely a movie that stays with you though, because if somebody talks about it, it's not like you have to think, oh yeah, what one is that? You know what I mean? It's definitely easily identifiable. And just to circle back to what Ian was saying about Avalon, I had the thought about like, was there ever a chance that I was going to see this movie in the theater? And I looked it up, and it came out in October 1990. It took me about half an hour to get to the movies where I grew up. Flatliners came out that month, so that's the movie that I saw that month. So yeah,
all right.
Who was that with again? Was that
Kevin Bacon,
Sutherland?
Julia
Roberts.
Roberts. Yeah,
that's right.
Joel Schumacher.
Who was the guy, the male lead though?
Kiefer
Sutherland.
Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now I remember. Okay.
And what's his name?
Why are you smiling, Joe?
No, I forgot the name. I think I recently saw a Kiefer Sutherland film that I'm not making you guys watch. Actually, I think that's probably
Stand By Me.
No, I would. That's a great flick. I think it was. I don't know. It's one of those. Women are involved and they're trying to kill somebody. I'll tell you. I'm sparing you from that flick.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Those are fun. This is a hard episode because almost every movie we watch are good, but I like the fun ones with questionable films.
Yeah. Well, before we get to Bill's film, if you are writing a screenplay and you need extra help, well, visit grittandscript.com for all of your screenwriting needs. Bill and I and whomever else will help you. So visit us and we'll get your screenplay into shape.
Amazing guys. Those guys are really good.
It's so great, right?
Yeah.
So fun and thorough. Bill, what did you do for us tonight?
So I picked the movie and it's on Prime Radio Flyer. This came out in 1992. Has a really crazy backstory. The script was sold for over $1 million when John Peters and Peter Guber took over Sony. And John Peters, if you saw Licorice Pizza, the Bradley Cooper character is based on John Peters. John Peters was a kid from the Valley. He was married to Leslie Ann Warren. He became a hairstylist, and he soon became Barbara Streisand's hairstylist, and then started producing movies. And then he did all these movies for Warner Bros. In the 80s, and then Sony gave him and his partner a huge deal. And one of their big deals was this script written by David Mickey Evans, who I think was coming out of USC at the time. I think it sold for like 1.75. And John Peters always likes to say he was the product of abuse, and that's why he bought it. He said that his dad was abusive and that he would get in scrapes as a kid. He grew up in the Valley. And so he bought the script, and it was a really big deal. And they were 2 weeks into filming, and when the script sold, David Mickey Evans, I think that's it, said, "I got directed." They fired him. I think Rosanna Arquette played the mom, and they brought in Richard Donner and Lorraine Bracco. And all of a sudden, this small little movie mushroomed to about $60 million back in the early 90s. And so with all the baggage of the movie, people never really gave it a chance. People were like, what the hell is this? I think as a small movie, it doesn't work. As a big movie, it definitely does work. It's one of the most beautifully shot movies I've ever seen. The subject matter is about two boys with a single mom who meets a guy. They move from New Jersey to California. Her new husband is an alcoholic abuser, and he beats up on the younger kid a lot. And so I don't want to ruin too much about it. So if you're not good with child abuse, it's kind of tough to see. But the ending's amazing, and I think this is just a gem of a movie. Definitely one of the biggest bombs of the 90s. Tom Hanks narrates it. I think he was coming off a couple flops himself, and I think this added to it. But I can't recommend this movie enough. It's on Amazon Prime with limited commercials. So if you want to check it out, I highly recommend it.
I saw this at the theater when it came out, because that's all I did. You guys hung out with people. I saw movies. I remember really, really liking it when it came out.
Yeah.
I did not remember when rewatching it how sad it actually is. And I think being a father now makes me see it differently because I beat my children. No, I don't. It's just so horribly sad. And I love how, what's his name? Adam Baldwin.
Yeah.
My bodyguard is the dad here, the abusive stepdad or whatever. And I love that you never really see his face straight on. He's kind of played like one of the cartoon human characters in Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
So you see like his feet or whatever. It's just, I don't know. It's so sad. I didn't remember the fantastical angle on this. And reading where this came from, what you were just talking about, the original screenwriter wanting to direct it and being fired. I wonder how much better that film would have been if they kept it a little darker, because it is made to feel somewhat like a kid's movie, like a family film, but the subject matter is so heavy.
It's very heavy. My girlfriend was really disturbed by it. And it should be known that the guy after Radio Flyer did The Sandlot. So he was like, no more dark movies for me.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a palate cleanser. It's also an early work of Hans Zimmer doing the score.
Oh,
Yeah.
But you were talking about Tom Hanks, so I looked this up. So I wanted to kind of talk about. I looked up the order of his filmography. 1987 had him in Dragnet, which was not a success, but I still love that movie. But
Awful
he had
movie.
Big. He had Big.
Oh,
Okay,
was
so
that in
Big is
89 or
huge.
90?
So yeah, I'll go through his movies quickly, but there's this run after Big that I think we need to focus on. So he does Big in 1988. Then he's got Punchline, The Burbs, Turner and Hooch, Joe versus the Volcano, and The Bonfire of the Vanities.
Oof.
So then Radio Flyer comes in, but don't worry. After Radio Flyer, League of Their Own, Sleepless in Seattle, Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, and more, and on and on and on. So
okay.
This is right at the bottom for Tom Hanks is the voiceover in Radio Flyer.
Yeah.
And he also did that movie Ed with the monkey pitching movie. He wrote that, which I know Christian loves. He's got.
I thought you were saying Tom Hanks did. I'm sorry.
No,
Like,
David Mickey Evans or Michael Evans. That's your point.
Is that a film with Matt LeBlanc, or am I confusing?
Yeah, Matt LeBlanc.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because you don't often hear the phrase "movie starring Matt LeBlanc," so that's
No.
why you remember the ones that you hear of in life. And I remember seeing this as a kid on HBO, as many things, and I think a lot of it was probably over my head because hearing you guys talk about it, I'm like, oh, I should rewatch this, but it sounds like it's going to be a real bummer now that I have 2 kids. So maybe I should have rewatched it like a decade ago instead of right now.
Oh yeah, if you got kids, it's brutal.
The kids are great too. Joseph Mazzello, is that it from Jurassic Park?
Yeah,
So good in this.
My wife went to college with him.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
I guess Spielberg met him on this set too.
Yeah,
I read.
I think Jurassic Park. Or I mean, did you do the River Wild? No, that was '94. Yeah.
Okay.
The River Wild came out of it. Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, the cinematography was absolutely gorgeous. I think it's one of the best movies Richard Donner has ever done.
Yeah, there's a lot to like here. I think it's not perfect, but it's definitely what this show is about, and it's not ejectable.
No, don't hit eject on this.
Yeah, don't hit eject.
No, but some of those Tom Hanks movies I just listed would need to be ejected.
Not Joe versus the volcano.
Not Turner and Hooch.
Yeah.
And you know, the example I usually use about how cruel Hollywood is that we just talked about. So what is it? 1988, he does Punchline, and Sally Fields' his girlfriend, and then in 1994 he does Forrest Gump, and Sally Field is his mother.
Oh, that's
business
right.
related you.
Judd Apatow would always make fun of Punchline that they would have lockers in the comedy club and Punchline. It's like no comedy club has lockers. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. And then he went and made a movie about stand-ups with the shittiest third act of any movie he's ever made, where it just completely goes off the rails. What an awful movie that was.
He said that.
Yeah. Oh, Judd. Oh no, I might not get to work with Judd now. Okay, great.
Hey, what movie is that? I forget.
Funny people.
Funny people. Yeah.
I don't remember it at all.
Yeah, it's a little long. It's a little long in the tooth, but there's such great stuff in it. It's hard to ignore. Maybe that.
But you know, if you eject it after 90 minutes, it's actually a pretty good movie.
That's a good angle on the ejectables.
There you go.
You can eject a DVD just as easily as you can on VHS.
Sure, you can.
Sure.
Okay, Christian, you have to pick a movie, but that's not your own, that you would recommend.
So of the ones that you said, I would
Like-
say Radio Flyer, and it's only like I can't quantify Avalon just because I've never seen it. But I think Radio Flyer, with the caveats of don't sit down with the family to watch it.
Okay, Ian, what do you pick?
This is like I said, this is a hard week because I think there's a lot to value in all of these films. But I'm going to go with Ford Fairlane.
Yep.
Yeah, with shout outs to the other films because very good choices, guys.
Joe?
I'm gonna go with Ford Fairlane as well. I thought it was really good, and I like laughing. And you know, I think that I think I get the sense that he knows that he's a joke. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not self-deprecating. I don't know if that's the right phrasing for it, but I just find him enjoyable.
And I'm
go with that.
I'm gonna go with Ford Fairlane because it's in the top 100 movies of all time.
All right,
we got a winner, folks.
All right, so here's the
job,
Samurai
Christian.
Cop.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the interesting thing is that Ford Fairlane, Bill, you and I talked about this when we had lunch. It was supposed to be the first of a 3-movie deal for Andrew Dice Clay, right? But it went so far off the rails that they didn't make either of the other 2, right?
Well, no, they made a concert film and then another place distributed it, and they shelved the 3rd movie.
I honestly think we all missed out because this film did not do well. Because I would love to see where they would have gone with this character. You know, it was just.
It's based on short stories, and there are more of these short stories. If you want more Adventures of Ford Fairlane, there's a collection on I'm sure you can get it on Amazon. It might actually be out of print, to tell you the truth, but there are more stories out there. There was also a DC comic book tie-in when this came out that it wasn't an adaptation. It was like stories, I think, leading up to the events of the movie. So the Ford Fairlane extended universe does indeed exist.
With your cassette tape.
With my cassette tape, yes.
Cool.
Wow.
So we have a winner. Well, Christian, thank you you introduced me to it. I know the other Ian and Bill, they've seen it, but I hadn't seen this. So thanks for the introduction.
Absolutely. Glad that the film could make your acquaintance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody at home, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Pop the popcorn, grab the Coke, and find that old VHS.